31st. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on your time zone. How are you getting on today? Trust the day has been great, wherever you might be watching us from across the globe this evening. We are here to bring your way, of course, one of the vital, important issue of discourse, of course, which has been a very sensitive one before the public domain. Surrounding the litigation of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu after his extraordinary rendition, uh, this is barely 3 years now. He has been subjected to unimaginable psychological, physiological, and emotional trauma. Of course, having been deprived the right to associate and relate with his acquaintances, most importantly, his immediate family. Since then, he has been under the incarceration or dungeon of the DSS. Uh, that notwithstanding, events following his last court proceedings, where the presiding judge suggested out of court settlement, citing the provision of the constitution or the law, of course, which allows him uh, to make such option or prescribe such option as a way of resolving the conflict between the accused and the accuser. And that, of course, followed the ultimatum that was given by the Niger Delta communities. The 14 days ultimatum or deadline for the immediate and unconditional release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu is elapsing, and this is the position they have maintained. You know, prior to this times, people have been quiet. People have been observing from a distance, watching closely how the case is being handled by the federal government. And of most recent, we have seen, of course, the perceived injustice, the perceived inequality in the dispense of justice within the Nigerian justice system. Just for instance, Sunday Igbohu, who happens to be an agitator, of course, was released, and whatever charges against him was set aside. The same thing, Sowore, who was accused of treasoning offense against the federal government, was also withdrawn. And to make it worse, the Mieti Allah leader case or treasoning offense charges was also withdrawn by the Attorney General of the Federation, citing in the interests of justice. Now, the question is, people begin to ask, where is that justice? Is that justice meant to be implemented or considered when it involves a particular people, and of course, and the interests of a particular region or personalities within the corridor of power? But when it involves other people's interests or quest for justice, they could be denied. And it's quite unfortunate that this is happening. This may have informed their position that, no, we have studied this case, we have been quiet enough, we have followed this development, and we have come to realize there is some level of injustice, unfairness meted on the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, not because he is the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, but the collective interest of the eastern region has been jeopardized. You release the Mieti Allah leader, you release your brothers from the southwestern region. But when it comes to a people of the eastern region or the defunct of eastern region, they should be treated differently. And as such, they have made up their mind. They say, no, this injustice must not continue. We must address this. We have seen and watched keenly how Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has been able to win his cases, even locally and internationally, in his favor. Even within the Nigerian legal jurisprudence, he has been acquitted and discharged, and he has won several court judgments seeking for his release and compensation to be duly compensated by the federal government or those concerned for responsible for his extraordinary rendition. But it appears that all these things are just falling on deaf ears, and the government perhaps might say, you can go to blazes as much as you care. We are in control. Now, if truly the President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is a democratic personality, someone who has fought for democracy, democracy simply implies, in a layman terms, the rule of law. So, if you talk about democracy in the absence of the rule of law, and rule of law encompasses, of course, uh, justice, equity, and fairness to all. Adhering to the court's verdicts within your legal jurisprudence. So you cannot tell me you fought for democracy, so hard for democracy, why you are a breaker of the law. You don't adhere to the law. Well, that is a subject of discourse in the next edition. But here is what I want us to concentrate at. What would have informed the Niger Delta communities to come out with such stance and say, no, we have seen it all. This perceived injustice is unfair and we cannot accept it. The leader of the indigenous people of the Mazen Nnamdi Kanu must be released because we have seen the partiality, we have seen the biasness, we have seen, of course, the prejudice expressed, and we cannot condone this. And the only condition they give to remain, of course, for the oil exploration and production to continue is for the immediate release of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. This is just about, okay, let's just call it, today is 28th of June, 2024. Barely, okay, 9 days after the court ruling or the suggestion by the presiding judge that out of court settlement could be explored in order to, of course, to settle the lingering legal tussle, of which Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has made it very clear that no court within the Nigerian legal jurisprudence has the legal right to try him after having violated international treaty of which they are signatory to. You cannot violate such treaties and diplomatic treaties and still, unfortunately, claim to be right. So that is on its own a blunder and, of course, a very serious crime with grave consequences, which can sever the diplomatic relationship or ties between Nigeria and Kenya, and, of course, invoke some international wrath in that respect. Now, these people have seen that truly there is no justice, there is no equity and fairness, and they say, no, Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, despite his own whatever he represents, he is our own people. So we feel that this marginalization, this injustice is not just meted to Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, but to us ourselves, because our interests are not protected within the Nigerian system. We have seen we are produced, we lay the golden egg, of course, but we have been denied the opportunities to benefit from the proceeds that comes from our own region, from our own territory. But this same produce or natural resources are being used to develop the north, the west, and of course, the entire eastern region is lying fallow. Our farmlands and ecosystems are being desecrated. Look at, we can no longer have a water body where we can fish. Of course, the aquatic uh, environment has been polluted deeply and greatly polluted, which might take more than 5 decades to clean up. And but that seems not to have catch the attention of the federal government. And of course, the derivation is nothing to write home about. Unlike when the granite pyramids were invoked, the North decided that it is 50-50. So even the 13% derivation that is meant, of course, allotted to those Niger Delta regions is more or less a way of robbing Peter to pay Paul. But these are other more considerations why they said, no, this injustice is unfair and we must not allow this to continue. And let's see what, of course, an excerpt from their position. They say, our 14 days deadline is about to expire. We will destroy and cripple oil production over Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's continued detention. This is coming from Niger Delta communities. As they warn the federal government of Nigeria, is a reminder to them that the 14 days deadline for the unconditional release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, is winding up. And if eventually that happens, we are going to destroy and cripple oil production by not heeding, of course, to the public interest and in the interest of justice. They are calling for the federal government to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu because that interest of justice that was applied to Mieti Allah leader, to Showore, to Sunday Igbohu should also be extended to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu on the for fairness and equity to be perceived to have been done. But if that is being jettisoned, if the government plays to the gallery, they will, of course, do the needful. And I believe this time it is not kidding, it is not a threat. I believe it's a promise that must be kept. According to them, they have made up their mind to address this once and for all. And meanwhile, you know what that implies. Of course, when the oil exploration or production is being crippled, the major stream of income generation of the Nigerian, the mainstream of or the life wire of Nigeria, when it collapses, already we are in the state of economic retardation, in the state of bankruptcy. That will be a total collapse of the entire system. Well, let's watch and see how the government responds to this. But they have given their own position, and just about few days to elapse, and we know, of course, the way forward. It says, speaking under the urges of the Association of the Niger Delta Upland Communities, the oil-rich region, you know what that means? Called on the federal government to quickly initiate moves for political solutions to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's matter. The association, in a statement signed by its president, Issa Mohammed Obri, and Secretary Wisdom Oteyi, respectively, threatened to stop oil production in Niger Delta until the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Pop, Nnamdi Kanu, who is said, who, okay, is said, is unjustly persecuted. Underline the word unjustly persecuted. Is released. From all indications, from all signs, it has been very clear that Nnamdi Kanu is unjustly, of course, persecuted, as some persons have called for his immediate release because he never deserved such injustice, such persecutions that is meted on him. Why those who have mauled and killed, whose people or ethnic nationalities have destroyed? In fact, so many communities have been raided and overrun. The government can release the leader on the basis of justice. And now, a man who only asked for the right thing to be done, who sensitized the people on their rights and the right to self-determinations, of course, and to control their own resources and develop at their own pace, has been incarcerated. And unfortunately, the regions within the northern hemisphere that have been the most and the worst battered region, of course, the perpetrators of these heinous crimes have not been arrested or apprehended or brought to book. We only hear stories upon stories of what transpires, how the people ravage. Now, it has been recorded and seen that some communities, the indigenous of those communities, have been overrun by some Fulani militias and reoccupied their ancestral homes. And no, the federal government is not even dealing with that. But what Sheikh Gumi would tell us, that Fulanis are fighting ethnic war. They're fighting ethnic war. Okay. Of course, they could embark on ethnic cleansing, and whosoever they conquer or whosoever community or region they were able to invade, overrun, of course, they can take over their ancestral homes and use it for a grazing land. And for the very reason why the Eastern people has been opposing the cattle ranching, the waterways bill, and the grazing parts, where, of course, that was initiated and sponsored heavily by the former president Buhari, with intention of giving the Fulani, his own kinsmen, a leverage, an advantage over others, so they could uh, perpetuate such heinous, atrocious crime. You know, Buhari was the one who initiated the 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 visa on arrival. He was very specific. He asked all the Sahel, the Fulanis, wherever you might be, to come down to Nigeria, and you'll be given visa on arrival. It's a wave of visa. Come in. It is time to explore. It is time to conquer and subdue. That is opportunity. But because of the resilience and doggedness of Nnamdi Kanu and his expositions, of course, which now made people to understand what is, of course, at stake. And for these very reasons, the Fulani governments of Malami and Buhari, they conspired with of course, the willing vessels within this eastern region, even alleged, of course, to have come from the IPOB, some hierarchy personalities from the IPOB clique. They worked against Mazin, that became the leader, to extradite him. Of course, that would not have come without some lobbies, some money exchanging hands, just like the Judas Iscariot, a bloody money for that matter. And the history, of course, is here with us. So what people are calling now, haven't underscored, haven't understudied the process of his rendition, the suffering, the subjugations, and the continued detentions. A man just using Nnamdi Kanu to buy time is not and no longer acceptable. So for this reason, the call has been sustained, and of course, there's no other option according to them. If the federal government dares, of course, not to comply to this clarion call, they should expect the worst, according to them. I said this decision entails the permanent closure of all the oil wells associated with the following pipelines. Okay, Colo Chris, Adava, Ogota, Asaba. So many of them will be shut down. This is what their positions is. He said that this decision entails okay permanent closure. Wow, this will be a shocking wave sent deeply into the Nigerian uh, stream of income and revenue generation. And of course, I strongly believe that this might not go down well because it might escalate to something that could spiral out of control. Because if the different quarters and personalities, group, persons has been calling for his release, unconditional release, and the government turns deaf ear to such clarion call, which is, of course, a public interest. In the interest of the public, it is something that the people have been calling for. They have been, I mean, speaking time without number, calling from different quarters, international communities, and all that. When you turn deaf ear to this call for his release, it is just an invitation of anarchy. You are just telling them, let the worst happen, that you are equal to the task. It doesn't matter, of course, how many people goes down, but you will remain adamant and bent in holding back a man who, of course, under the Nigerian law has not committed any crime and has not been indicted by any competent court of law within the Nigerian legal jurisprudence. Tell me any court that have indicted Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. With all the count charges, allegations levied against him, it was quashed. It was quashed. And the verdict was given in his favor. But all of a sudden, it was overturned, and they said, let them begin again. What? Begin again with a different, or with the same count charges that was quashed? So you can see it's a way of buying time. And people have seen all these things and say, no, this can't practice. It's an old, tactics. It can't work. The best thing in the interest of a peace, of course, to sue for peace, release this man so that those non-state actors who are taking advantage of his rendition or who possibly might be sponsoring restiveness, chaos in the East in order, of course, to paint him black so that they will say these are his people killing. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu has maintained that position that agitation for the restoration of Biafra should not cost the life of any Biafran, that he is there, they are agitating and calling for the independent state of Biafra because they want everyone to be preserved. They value the life of the people they are fighting for. So nobody should, under any circumstances, kill his own people. You can see, of course, what have been playing out. Some gangs, some politicians, and the vested interests will, even from outside the eastern region, will sponsor such level of criminality within the eastern part so that they could discredit Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and what he represents and his group. But only time have, of course, proven them wrong. And Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has maintained his composure. Now, this call for his release, I hope the government of Nigeria should consider this as a necessity in the interest of the public and, of course, in the interest of justice. Very serious, tight corner, as the case is, because in fact, not just sitting on the cake of a gunpowder, because something more disastrous or devastating might ensue in the course of this. So it is now important, of course, for the government and his advisors to listen to the people, to the voice of reasoning, to the voice of wisdom, and do what is needful before it is too late. Some may not understand, of course, how prepared the level of pain and grief uh, people are passing through because of this interest or because of this unfortunate development. People are not happy. They have seen it all, and you can't hide the truth. You can't hide it from the people. People reasons, they see things, they observe, and they haven't come to that conclusion. And different quarters, both international communities, personalities of great repute are calling, release this man, let peace return to the East. And you said, no, we are not interested for peace to return in the East. In fact, we intend to destabilize the region, make it ungovernable, and destroy the very fabric of the existence and disrupt economic and societal life. So that, of course, it might take a resemblance of what is happening in the north. No wonder the headers are fighting, or those invaders want to invade the entire region and make it ungovernable, or if not, if possible, exterminate the people and take over that land as grazing land. But the people are more wiser this time. They're more determined and resolute. Of course, they are keeping and matching, of course, every move. by the government and those that support such injustice. Well, we may not, of course, rule out the possibility of the president exercising his executive rights under the law. However, consider that this man, in the first instance, is innocent, is presumed innocent, and of course, the Supreme Courts have killed every doubt about his jumping bail, which as presupposes that the Nigerian government is guilty for invading his own country home, killing about 28 persons or more, and attempted, of course, to assassinate him, but he was fortunate enough to have escaped such uh, conspiracy or such assassin. But after that, his extraordinary rendition was invoked, and unfortunately, the purpose for which he was renditioned has not been achieved because it was intended to silence the movement for the restoration of the Biafran state. But unfortunately, it has gained more momentum. It has gained more popularity. In fact, it has advanced the cause of Biafra struggle, Biafra restoration today. Just as the United States Justice Department have registered and recognized the Biafra Republic government in exile. And also the organization of Imagine African States has also endorsed the Biafran Republic government in exile. So all these things wouldn't perhaps uh, have come so fast if not for the rendition of Mazen Nnamdi Kanu. Simon Ekpat stepped in, and of course others who believe that it's time now. It is very clear that we can't get justice. We are not part of the system. The actions and antecedents have proven otherwise that, of course, our fears has been justified. That these people don't care about us. They don't want us to be parts of them, but unfortunately, they wouldn't want us, they wouldn't let us go because they knew when the moment they let us go, will become more celebrated, will become, of course, more reliance and independence, and progress at our own pace, which will shock the world. So they wouldn't want perhaps anything good coming from those regions. So they want them to be silenced, and especially those who have oil wells, vested interests, of course, will not want anything that will result to the dissolution of the Nigerian state because of their interests and what they stand to get at the expense of the region or the population of this region. And of course, they don't care in as much as they continue the exploitations, and everybody should remain silent because they are the one uh, that is born to rule, while others are born to be subjugated and oppressed. Well, we are going to see how that goes down. It's just a matter of times, days, a week. I hope our humanity will not be plunged, of course, to another Hiroshima and Nagasaki, of course, in a time. We hope that the both parties, especially the federal government, will heed to the voice of reasoning and wisdom. It is becoming necessary, it has become necessary at this time, not to waste time to seize such opportunities, regardless of whatever might be the case. The clarion call is to listen. Now that the out of court case has been invoked, so what is the development? I think we needed to know so that the people will not be kept in the dark. Is it promising, or is it something that also would end up, of course, in a dead end, so that people will get to know their stance and the way forward, whatever be the case. And it is quite interesting. Okay, let's see what is written here. Here says this shutdown has been in effect since December 2022, leading to the significant financial issues for the federal government, amounting to over 14.5 trillion over the past 8 months. The marginalization and conspiracy aimed at suppressing the Igbo Biafran people must cease immediately. We are united by blood, and as one family, injustice towards our leader is injustice that affects us all. You can see their position now. This is no longer a child's play. People are coming to that self realization that it is no longer, of course, the time to be divided, divide and rule us. People are coming to that consciousness that we are one, related by blood, by ideology, shared ideology, and of course, culture. So we can't continue to keep silence while part of us is being subjected, marginalized, oppressed, because when they are done with the Igbo race, they will eventually come after us. You know what that means? And by then it will be very too late for us to survive such. So they are saying, again, let me read it again. He said the marginalization and conspiracy aimed at oppressing the Igbo Biafran people must cease immediately. We are united by blood, and as one family, injustice towards our leader is injustice that affects us all. Now, my people say that blood is thicker than water. They have come to realize they are united, of course, by blood. You know what that means? That affinity, that closeness, that intimacy, of course, has been restored. And there's nothing, of course, that can separate them or the enemies of propagandas to keep them separated has been defeated. And this informed the position you are seeing today. Yes, they accuse those behind Kanu's extraordinary rendition from Kenya of responsibility for the tension associated with his continued detention and threatened to expose them. This is what they went further. Those responsible for his extraordinary rendition, who has made the entire eastern region, of course, inhabitable and restive, possibly to gain cheap political uh, point for his continued detention, claiming that his own people or loyalists are the ones constituting nuisance and embarking on all sorts of criminality just to discredit the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra and, of course, give reasons why he should remain under incarceration. These are orchestrated plans by those crafty men who want to perpetrate such evil at the expense of Nnamdi Kanu and his people. He said these individuals who orchestrated the extraordinary rendition of our leader solely because his enlightening message, his enlightening messages challenge the status quo. You can see it now. These are one of those reasons because they first threatened the political dynasty and the interest first threatened by that expository, of course, teachings and messages by Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, which challenge that things cannot continue like this. A few persons cannot be enjoying while the majority, over 95%, are wallowing in abject poverty without defined future, of course, vision and ideology. So we must correct this as Africans as a Pan-African leader, he has maintained that position that Africa must rise, and the world, of course, to watch Africa take the world by surprise in terms of innovations, growth, and development. Africa must take the lead, and it only begins when we realize our place, of course, and allow self-actualization and realization. This is what Mazin Nnamdi represent. But some felt this man will silence whatever we represent. Our pursuit and quest to remain within the corridor of power or vested interest to pursue for our political interests will be jeopardized if we allow him. So let's go all out. Let's orchestrate how he should be destroyed or, of course, renditioned. It doesn't matter what it costs. Well, of course, they did it, but the question is, did they really succeed? Unfortunately, they have added uh, the consolidation of the Biafran struggle and have taken unusual dimension because of this particular incident. It's a lost battle for them, and of course, those who believe in the cause of Biafrans are now gaining more grounds, more uh, public awareness, global acceptance, and sympathy is building up in favor of the Biafra Republic and, of course, independence. Well, thank you once again for listening and being part of this. It's a this conspiracy aims to suppress a leader whose insights have awakened, you see, whose impact has awakened the masses, the population of the African West that have been subjected and suppressed over centuries or decades, uh, being a stooge to the Western powers, of course, to detect how Africa should be run. They said, no, we must rise at this time. We Africans, we have the ingenuity, we have the resources, human and natural resources, to redefine ourselves, to, of course, tell the story, our story ourselves, not allowing the Western world, the IMF, and what have you, to tell our own story, why they keep on exploiting us. Of course, taking what is around us and within us to impoverish us, why they advance their own states and their own people enjoy from the proceeds from African backyard. Well, it's quite unfortunate, but this is one of those pain most African leaders have caused their own people, uh, acting uh, at the interests of the Western powers to perpetuate and keep their own people into servanthood, into perpetual subjection and suppression. It is time to, of course, to rise. It's time to say no to this criminality, unfairness, and injustice meted on Mazin Nnamdi Kanu and all, especially within the Eastern region. Please kindly hit the like buttons and share this video. Turn on the notification buttons so that you can get our videos whenever we're online or we upload any new video. You'll be the first to see our videos. And of course, you have the opportunity to comment as that becomes necessary. Thank you once again. Yes, let's continue to have the comments wrote in and, of course, express your own positions and what do you think could be or could have been the best option or approach to this nagging or lingering issue. Mazin Nnamdi Kanu is released today. Peace will be restored in the eastern region. I believe that strongly, and because it has been proven to be true. Mazin Nnamdi Kanu has the capacity, of course, and people there is in debt to the people, and people can listen to him whenever he speaks because they know that he's the person who represents their interests and will not betray their very uh, interests at his at, at his own, uh, of course, advantage. Thank you once again for being part of this discourse briefly this evening. Remember, bless and good night from this end. We'll come your way, of course, with more Ubunga and exciting and intriguing discussions uh, by the grace of God comes tomorrow. Don't miss it. Don't miss this discussion because it will be very explosive and informative and with deep revelations as we navigate through this moment and the challenge, of course, we found ourselves. Thank you once again. Remember, bless. A good night from here. We'll meet again. Bye. Don't forget to share this video and, of course, spread it in any platform you are. And, of course, let people get to know that Core TV is where you can get unbiased reportage of events and in-depth analysis as it borders on existence and, of course, on a collective interest. Humanity is first, and we must place this as a priority in any of our discussion to promote justice, fairness, and equity. To this end, we have come. Good night, bye, and have a good night rest for those who are going to bed. Bye for now.